Often in the philosophy of religion, when we deal with the problem of evil, we have to distinguish between moral evil and natural evil. It's normally seen as a straightforward distinction and one that's normally dealt with quickly. You put your definitions down and then you move on. And I want to offer those definitions in a moment, but I also want to note that it's not as simple as it looks. It shouldn't be. At least. So, it seems fairly straightforward though. Moral evil is where we would normally use the term evil. Natural evil is a weird use of the word evil. So moral evil is what we already think evil kind of is. So it's things where humans choose to do bad things to other people or other sentient beings. So it might be genocide, it might be people carrying out acts of violence, acts of cruelty, of all sorts. So you see, humanly initiated acts are moral evil, evil that people do. When people talk about freedom as a solution to the problem of evil, as you might well encounter, they tend to be dealing with it as a solution to the problem of moral evil. So moral evil is, I choose to walk up to my colleague and slap him in the face. That's evil on my part. His suffering is a result of my free chosen activity. Natural evil, as the name indicates, is when the natural world, some people call it malfunctions, but causes people to suffer or causes suffering. So if there is a hurricane, a tsunami, a tidal wave, an earthquake, something of that sort, and it kills people, it just causes suffering, that is seen as a natural evil, and that has a different set of responses regarding how we might deal with that, philosophically or theologically or however. So moral evil, people do it. Natural evil, it just happens as a result of the natural world. That seems straightforward, but what about cases that are in between? So yeah, if I go up to my colleague and slap them, that might be moral evil. It's probably only evil if they don't deserve it. So we get into a whole bunch of questions about undeserved suffering. I'll leave that at the moment. If they're my colleagues walking down the street and there's an earthquake, natural evil that causes them pain. What about if they're walking down the street and all of a sudden there's some unusual hail, say, often happens, and the hail dislodges a roof tile that then slips down the roof and decapitates them and kills them. Is that moral evil or natural evil? Now, straightforward answer, well, it's natural evil. It was, no people were involved. But what if the roofer who made the roof, off which the tile slid, hadn't really bothered and hadn't done a good job? What if the roof tiles were badly fitted? Therefore, that was a real risk. You might say it's a mix, it's a blend. There was a natural situation that led to that happening, but it's also a result of the negligence of an individual. We could also muddy the waters between moral and natural evil by saying, well, if there's an earthquake in a really developed nation, where, say in California somewhere, most of the buildings are earthquake proof and not as many people would be injured as if the same earthquake was in a part of the world where people are very poor. The same earthquake, same natural evil, a whatever Richter scale earthquake, might kill hundreds of people, but only because they haven't got the means to build earthquake proof buildings. So are the pains, the sufferings that result from that natural event entirely a matter for natural evil, if some of them could have been mitigated by a better distribution of wealth around the world? So even in case of natural evil like an earthquake, you might say, well, if they weren't as poor, they wouldn't have suffered as much. Isn't there often then, in trying to assess natural evils, a moral element? So yes, they are separate, and yes, that is a useful distinction, but as with so many things when studying philosophy, things are never as simple as they seem.